Well, hello there. How you doing, guys? I hope you're happy, healthy, doing the things that you love with the people that you love doing them with. And this is something that I love to do. I love to say, I'm Sean Butler. This little one down here is my disinterested, silent partner, yet co-anchor, Bugsy Malone. And we are bringing to you today episode 90, I think, of Tottenham Walks on the SpursTalkShow. Guys, if you wouldn't mind doing me one favour before we get going, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button and the notification bells if you haven't yet done so, and then drop a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are on my thoughts on today's topic, and that is the centre-back conundrum, the ever-moving target, the ever-present hole at the centre of our defence, the weak spot, if you like, the vulnerability, the Achilles heel of Tottenham Hotspur. How do we do it? How do we go about it? As you know, we have a bunch of defenders, none of which, apart from Christian Romero on a good day, are entirely reliable, none of which breathes too much confidence in, but there are sort of degrees of ability that we have there. To me, Eric Dyer and Sanchez are probably in the bottom category in terms of confidence inducing. I feel like whenever Eric Dyer, at least this season, steps onto the pitch, there is a mistake that's always an ever-present risk. Sanchez has the lack of concentration problem, and usually people would put Ben Davies into that category, but as I've discussed on a few different channels, I'm not entirely sure that that's a fair reflection of Ben Davies' contribution this season and last season. I feel like he has been a very competent player at the left side of the centre-back role. He's now moving forward more. We know his limits and his weaknesses, the limitations of his game are more in the offensive side, but he has stepped up recently and got 2 goals for the cause. Important goals that without them would have resulted in the result of those 2 games going in different directions. One of them was against Leeds, and I think the previous one was against Bournemouth, maybe? Can't remember. Anyway, I'd put him and Clement Longley into the kind of second tier category where you don't mind them so much that they're good enough players to play, but in an ideal world would really be on the kind of rotational level as a squad player, not as a guaranteed first team starter. And then you have Christian Romero, when he's fit, when he's available, and when he's fully focused on the cause, is an absolute future Rolls-Royce defender. I think maybe some people in the fan base have been a little bit guilty of presenting him as a world-class defender already, when in reality I don't think he's played anywhere near enough games in England for Tottenham to be seen at that level, but his potential for sure is sky high. And obviously we've got Japhet Tanganga as well, who hasn't played a minute this season for us. So we know that there's noise out, right, that Inter Milan might want Japhet Tanganga or want Davinson Sanchez. We know that there's noise out that AC Milan wanted Japhet Tanganga, although that looks less likely now to happen because we drew them in the Champions League, and Conte and Paratici won't want to, offload a player to that outfit with all of the secrets of how Tottenham play and all the insights that he could offer to a team that is going to be competing with us for a spot in the last 8. So that's less likely, but Sanchez to Inter may happen, which would free up a space. Now, to me, Inter Milan are hoarding. They are hoarding great defenders at the moment. They've got Alessandro Bastoni, a player that we were incredibly keen on during the summer. We couldn't make it happen. The player didn't really want to leave, and that may still be the case. I think Romano came out yesterday and said Bastoni's not going to go anywhere in January. However, there is still noise coming out that Tottenham may try and resurrect that deal in January. The difference in tone being that Bastoni hasn't really played very much for Inter. He's been dropped on bad form. And so maybe his head has been turned a little bit. And if there was some wiggle room or some movement in the Conte contract situation where he committed himself to a 2-3 year extension, then maybe that would be enough for Bastoni to perk up and say, okay, let's have a discussion about it. If Inter Milan were willing to make some sort of movement. They've also got Milan Skriniar, who is out of contract in the summer, a player that will surely be sought after by some of the very best teams in world football. He is an absolute beast of a centre half, tall, strapping, strong guy who can play in the middle of a back three or has the adaptability to play in a back four. And look, with his contract being up in 6 months' time, he can technically sign on a pre-contract agreement, I think in January. But Inter Milan want to sign him, extend his contract so they can protect themselves as protect their asset. But whether or not that happens, who knows? PSG were in for them in the summer, but Tottenham are certainly a name that keeps being mentioned with that whole link as well. Then you have Stefan de Vrij, who to me, I've said before on this show, is so underrated as a centre-back. People compare him to De Ligt, and they always promote De Ligt as the better of the two, but to me, I think that de Vrij is an absolute superstar, and I would be so happy to have him. He is also somebody that can play more in the centre of a back three, but also has the adaptability and the competence to be able to play in a back four should the future managerial situation change, and the next cab off the rank in that terms would be a manager who plays a back four. There's options there, but Inter, just like in the summer, didn't want to do anything. It was a kind of shit or get off the pot situation, and they did neither. They still have financial struggles, and Tottenham still will be likely to go back and try and see if any of those deals are available. I forgot to mention de Vrij is also out of contract, I believe, in the summer. So is NDICKA from Frankfurt, a young beast of a left-sided centre-back. Didn't play so well against Tottenham in the first leg when we went to Germany. Played much better in the second leg, and then when I saw him play against Marseille, I thought he was very, very impressive as well. And he's a player who's also out of contract, as I say, in the summer. But he's like 21, 22, so maybe fits more into the, the paradigm that Daniel Levy likes to kind of work towards, which is if you can sign them young on long-term contracts, then that's obviously more preferential. And if you remember, Eintracht Frankfurt sold Kostic to Juventus for just 12 million euros, which took everyone by surprise in the fact that I think he was out of contract in the summer or last summer. Oh, sorry, he was out of contract at the end of this year, but they sold him in the summer just for 12 million quid. And so Frankfurt, I'm not sure if that's because they have money issues or what the kind of reasoning was to force that at such a low valuation, but there's every chance again that Frankfurt might be open-minded to cashing in early on NDICKA for fear of losing him for free in the summer. There'll be a lot of competition for his places as well. Another name that's been popped up recently that I saw Football London talking about today is the re-emergence of Pau Torres from Villarreal, a player that we were linked with pretty consistently in the summer, and nothing materialised there, but there was a lot of noise as though that he had turned Tottenham down for the second time in as many seasons. The first time he turned us down is because we weren't in the Champions League, we were in the Europa League or the Conference League, depending on which season it happened, and he wanted to play for a Champions League team. And then last summer, despite us qualifying for the Champions League, he allegedly turned us down in favour of moving to Manchester United. That ended up not happening either, which gave me a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth that this guy was using excuses to not sign for Tottenham that were a bit contradictory. because the last summer we qualified for the Champions League and his preferred destination was United, who were in the Europa League, so didn't particularly like that. And then when I did the 6 comparables, the comparisons of 6 different striker targets that we were looking at, and if you remember, Clement Longley actually competed very well with the best of them. I think only Josko Gvardiol was consistently better in all of the important metrics, both on the ball and off the ball, offensively and defensively, which is the sort of things you need to know when you're looking at a left-sided centre-back. Pau Torres didn't come up smelling of roses, so I was a little bit kind of disinterested anyway, and then the data and the statistics confirmed that over a 2-year period he wasn't really worth worrying about or paying, it wasn't worth the money that we'd be paying for him. So my rant here is coming to a conclusion. Bugsy, let's go back. The conclusion is, guys, is that what I find weird, the reason I mentioned Ben Davies at the start is that he is, for me, competent enough at the left-sided centre-back spot, and so is Clement Longley, that I don't worry about that side as much as I worry about the centre of the 3 and some backup for Romero. Now, we know that Eric Dyer has been ousted to the right, and maybe that's okay. So if Romero's fully fit, Eric Dyer can sit on the bench, and then Eric Dyer or Clement Longley currently are fighting it out for the middle spot. And then when necessary, if Romero's back and Dyer moves back into the middle, then Longley and Ben Davies can fight it out for the left-sided spot, but it's not ideal. For me, the most important position to worry about is the centre, and it's a specialist position. You know, the role of a middle back 3 centre back is very different to that of a player who plays on the left or the right. You're not going to get dribbled at as much in the centre as you are if you're on one of the sides by tricky, small centre of gravity or low centre of gravity type players. So you don't have to have that kind of reverse gear, be quick on your toes, have a quick small turning circle quite as much in the centre as you do on the left or the right. The person in the middle has to have more abilities to lead the line, abilities to control the offside trap, be stronger in the air, and more ability to read the game, and especially when the ball's at their feet, the ability to be composed and mature and relaxed under pressure, more so than the responsibilities of players on the right or the left. So the role is very specific, and to me, all of the players that we're being linked with right now, NDICKA, Torres, Bastoni, those players are all specialists on the left-hand side of the centre-back role. To me, I'd rather go after someone who's a specialist in the middle. So if you had to prioritise one signing over any of the others, for me, I think that the absolute priority right now is the central side, and I think you have to go and try everything you can to get SKRINIAR or DAVIES, one of those types of players in. Now, in an ideal world, if you could at the same time go and get a left-sided centre-back as well, if it's possible to be able to come out of the window with dream world scenario, a SKRINIAR and a Bastoni, and that sets you back 100 million quid, then I think Tottenham's centre-back issues are hopefully resolved then for 4 or 5 years minimum. And with the age of Bastoni and Romero, you could see them playing for Tottenham for a long time. But if in reality it's unlikely you're going to get 2 of them done in January, if you had to pick one, for me, as much as I'd imagine that NDICKA would be cheaper than SKRINIAR, I think that we're more secure in the left side at the moment with Ben Davies and Longley than we are in the centre with Eric Dyer and Longley. And so I would probably prioritise SKRINIAR or DAVIES over those. Love to know your thoughts, guys. Let me know what your expectations are, what your demands are, how much money you think we can scrape together, and drop a comment below and tell me if you think I'm on the right page or not. Like, share and subscribe, guys. And as always, bye bye.